called baloney face. I goofed shaving, so I said, fuck it, and I took it all off. And now I don't have my teeth in, so I'll wear them next time. I'm not even really sure what this message is going to be. Um, so it'll probably just be a random thought ramble. We recently had somebody else get discharged from the house, a coworker of mine. It frustrates me when I'm it's funny how the universe works. I am truly starting to appreciate and understand what I put my friends and family and loved ones through, and how frustrated they would become as well. Um, Having seen several good friends essentially relapse, um, not that I haven't seen that before, because I have, but for whatever reason, this time it's hitting much differently. And it's probably because I have done a lot of healing work, a lot of the inner work, a lot of the shadow work, as they call it, and have gotten a very good, solid foundation of my sobriety, um, which I've had before. Um, but it just, you know, as I've stated before, addiction is progressive, so is recovery. Um, and I guess this is just one of those extra layers. I was always cognitively aware, but now I'm experiencing it on a slightly different level. So it's really kind of hitting home. It's frustrating when I see my friends, that I meet, acquaintances, and people I get to know at this particular sober house in this facility go back out, because I understand the struggle. Um, I understand all of that mindset and how easy it is. You're only one decision away from a completely different life. And it's so true on so many different levels. Most people don't change anything because they're afraid of the unknown, or they anticipate or expect the worst. In my experience, most of the time, my fears are, well, not only slightly unfounded, of course, they're obviously based on a previous experience, but more often than not, allowing a fear to dictate a choice or decision um, often leads to that fear coming true, which is more often than not nothing happening or nothing changing. Um, so the point is, having seen several people that I've gotten to know pretty well slip up, fall, it's frustrating because I understand their struggles. I understand where they're at, but having been on the other side of the coin as well, I also understand that once you make that decision to truly surrender and give that, let that old version of you die, it's actually pretty simple after that. It's just making that decision is the hardest part. And it truly is a death and a rebirth. It really is. You completely have to surrender to the process, and throw in the towel, as they say. You really have to let that old version of you die. Pride, the ego, the insecurities, all of it doesn't serve any purpose anymore. You think it does, but it really doesn't. Not for any real growth, anyway. So there's that been going through my mind a lot, you know. So I get the frustration of my friends and family, because them not having to suffer from addiction. They don't understand the struggle of addiction and what that mental everyday fight is like. I do, but I also understand how to overcome that and what it's like to truly live in serenity and peace and contentment. Um, are there things I want in my life? Yes, of course. Would I consider myself happy? Yes. Joyful? On occasion. And to me, there's a difference. But I see, these guys, they fall prey to the same things we all fall prey to. You know, um, typically it's relationships, wanting to feel accepted and loved and all of those things. And unfortunately, always seeking that from an outside, source, and always seeking that external validation. Almost, in my experience, it's always going to lead to disappointment. And that's pretty much what happened with this person. He's been chasing multiple relationships, serial dater, as some would call. And he um, recently had a lot of his legal consequences finally concluded. So there was a large amount of accountability lifted, and all it took. It tells me he always had reservations in the back of his mind, um, just as my other friend did. And that was just the subconscious justification. But it's tough because it's weird. I know the struggle, but at the same time, I also know that once you finally do surrender and throw the towel in, the struggle is not nearly as that difficult. You just have to embrace the change and the growth. You have to embrace the death of the old ego. So, and that's something that each person individually has to come to their own decision. It's like I've said many times. The old saying, "You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink." Same idea. We can lead them to the doorway, but they have to go through it. I would love to kick some people right through the doorway. I really would, but it makes no difference. Even I've tried that; it doesn't work. They just throw their arms out and catch themselves on the frame. No, I don't want. Guilty, 100% guilty of this. So yeah, that's been kind of on my mind a lot. A lot of intense dreams lately. I'm gonna blame that on the moon and the lunar eclipse. In my defense, the moon was doing some weird shit, man. Um. So yeah, it's been a hell of a ride, and it's the whole point. Not necessarily the destination, but the journey. Hmm. Yeah, I thought I had more, but I guess not. That's it for now. I'm sure I'll make another one soon. Have a blessed night.